All right, let's dive into Genesis 47. This is such a pivotal chapter, you know? It's all about God's incredible timing and his plan to set his people apart. And we're going to see how, even smack in the middle of a powerful foreign empire, God carves out this sanctuary for his own, and it really sets the stage for two completely different futures.
Wow. We're kicking things off with these really heavy words from Jacob. Just try to picture this for a second. He's 130 years old, and he's standing in front of Pharaoh, literally the most powerful man on the planet. And he looks back on his life. It's not a complaint, not really. It's just this raw, honest summary from a man who's wrestled with God, who's been through so much hardship, but has also seen God's faithfulness through every single step. These words, they just set the stage perfectly for what's about to happen.
Okay, so this brings us right into our first section. We're talking about a super important meeting in Pharaoh's court, a moment where you can just see God's provision for his people unfolding.
Seriously, can you just imagine this scene? You've got Joseph, the second most powerful man in Egypt, and he brings in his family. These are humble shepherds from Canaan. This is so much more than a family reunion. It's this huge, pivotal moment where God's covenant family steps onto the world stage, right in front of the throne of global power.
So Joseph is smart. He tells his family to identify as shepherds, and because of this, he's able to get them the land of Goshen. Now you got to understand, Goshen wasn't just some random piece of land out in the boonies. No way. This was the best of the land. It was super fertile, absolutely perfect for their flocks. And think about it. In the middle of a global famine, God doesn't just give them enough to survive. He gives them a sanctuary of complete abundance. It's amazing.
And then, something truly extraordinary happens. The scripture says Jacob blessed Pharaoh. I mean, let that sink in for a minute. You have this old traveler, basically a guest in this country, and he's the one giving a blessing to the mighty king. It's such a powerful picture, isn't it? It shows us that true spiritual authority, the kind that comes from God, is so much bigger than any earthly throne. The greater always blesses the lesser.
So while Jacob's family is getting settled, the camera kind of pans out and we see what's happening to the rest of Egypt. And it's not pretty. The nation is absolutely collapsing under the weight of this terrible famine.
Joseph, using that wisdom God gave him, puts this really stark plan into action to save the country. It's basically a step-by-step transaction for survival. First, people use their money to buy food. Okay, makes sense. But then the money runs out. So next, they trade their livestock. Then, when all the animals are gone, they sell their land. And finally, when there's absolutely nothing left, they sell themselves, becoming servants to Pharaoh. It's a very practical, worldly plan that definitely saves their lives, but man, the cost is enormous.
So this policy from Joseph, it does more than just save Egypt from starving. It completely rewrites their entire society. And what emerges are two totally different paths, two very different fates, for the Egyptians and for the Israelites.
And this new reality gets cemented into law. Joseph makes a decree. From now on, the people will work the land for Pharaoh, and they have to give 1/5, that's 20%, of everything they harvest back to the throne. And this wasn't just a temporary fix for the famine. Nope, this set up a brand new, permanent economic system. It fundamentally changed the relationship between the people and their government forever.
Okay, so here's where we see the new social structure really taking shape, and there's a huge distinction. On one side, you've got the regular Egyptian people. They sold their land, they became servants, and they're paying that 20% tax. But then you look at the priests. They were totally exempt. Their land wasn't sold. In fact, they got a special ration directly from Pharaoh. This set them completely apart from everyone else, who are now basically tenants on the king's land.
And we really can't forget the why behind all this. The Bible makes it so clear just how severe this famine was. It wasn't just, oh, we're hungry. People were literally on the brink of starvation. The land was failing. There was just desperation everywhere.
And then right after that picture of desperation, the scripture gives us this unbelievable contrast. It's whiplash. While the rest of Egypt is selling itself into slavery just to stay alive, what's happening with Israel? They're not just safe in Goshen, they are thriving. They're getting possessions, their families are growing, they're multiplying like crazy. It's a perfect picture of a people set apart, miraculously prospering right in the middle of a worldwide crisis.
All right, for our last part here, we're going to zoom back in. We're moving from the big national picture back to one man, Jacob. He's getting close to the end of his life, and he's about to reveal what truly matters to him.
So Jacob,
actually lives in Egypt for another 17 years. And you have to imagine these were probably the most peaceful, most prosperous years of his entire life. He's finally back with Joseph, his family is safe, they're doing well, but even with all that comfort, all that security, Egypt just wasn't home to him.
So as he's on his deathbed, he pulls Joseph close and makes him swear an oath. And what's his final request? It's not for more wealth, it's not for some big monument in Egypt, it's simple. Don't bury me here, bury me back in Canaan. Back in the land God promised to his grandfather Abraham, his father Isaac, and to him. I mean, that is just an incredible act of faith.
And Joseph's oath, it's so much more than a son just doing what his dad asks. It's a powerful declaration. By making this promise, Joseph is tying himself and all the future generations of Israel to God's promise. He's saying, our future, our real inheritance, our identity, it's not here in Egypt, it's in the promised land.
And that really leaves us with this question to chew on, right? For Jacob, God's promise was worth more than all the safety, all the power, all the riches that Egypt had to offer. Genesis 47 shows us a people who were physically set apart in the land of Goshen, sure. But even more than that, it shows us a faith that is set apart. A faith that looks right past the comforts of today and fixes its eyes on a future promise from God.